Alright, so now they should render with a hat from here on out. Doc Arcane was nice enough to make me this pirate hat model. It works. See, this just makes them a little bit more of a threat. Of course, they can be dealt with in small numbers like that. Currently, I'm adding deckhands at the request of Doc Arcane, and adding a kind of a cheaty sort of strategy. Huh, apparently I didn't save that. Oh, let's do this actually. So let's So now I'm going to make a capability where you can lose a leg and use a peg leg instead. So we'll call this model peg leg. Confirm. We'll use this plugin to generate a zombie because it's close enough. And there we go. So I want the right leg to be the peg leg, so we need exactly nothing else. Nah, makes more sense for the left leg, honestly. Alright, so what we do here is we go ahead and shrink this, and we make sure it shrinks correctly here, because we're gonna bind the skin for use here, and the rest we're gonna do differently. So this will be the cap part of it. This will be the actual support structure for the leg. It's just going to be a super simple model. And this will be the pad, the footing of the leg. Alright, so now that we got that done, it's time to split the UVs on the thing and texture it. Toggle UV overlay. And then we'll create a texture. We'll call it peg leg. It is a template. I don't know if there's a way to turn off the mappings, the auto UV mappings first, but I'm gonna say probably not. I know there's a toggle UV function. I haven't found it to work, so that's the thing. That wasn't right. Delete, create texture, template, peg leg. There we are. Yeah, and it just kind of changes it to however it wants to afterwards, which I hate. Oh well, that'll work for now. There we go. Alright, close enough. So, now we'll export it as a model file right quick. No, we won't, because we'll save this for later. That makes it where we have to discard the model. That makes it where we have to where we have to get rid of the player's model, and that's a lot easier said than done. So I'm going to make the deckhands have a special attack. They're going to spawn holding a mop and a bucket, and they're not quite as much of a pushover as that would make them seem. So we're just gonna model a quick and dirty bucket real quick. So have a bucket model here. Have the way you hold the thing. Come up to here. Duplicate it on both sides. Have the thin rope or the metal portion. Have it centered about there. Pull this over this way. And we'll make this about 2 pixels wide there. Just about center that, and then pull the handle over this way. It doesn't look the best, but it's workable for now. And then we will import a texture, documents, Minecraft, textures, blocks, it's planks rather, planks oak, because that's what 80% of my stuff is. Then we'll shove this, let's see how big this texture was. That was 7, so this needs to start at probably 7. That's the scale. We'll start at 8 rather. And that should continue on the texture just like it is. So we'll do the same here, except offsetting this 1. This had a max of 6, so this gets pushed to 7. Also offset by 1. This gets thrown here, and this is 7 pixels wide, so this gets pushed over to 8. And that doesn't work at all. Actually, yes it does. It just looks weird. It's the texture. Oh well. We'll keep it just for sanity's sake, I guess. So this goes to 8 down here. And it's very much the same process the whole way through. There we go, that's that. Now we do the bottom here. That's close enough. The inside. Bottom again. I care about this texture quite a bit less than I do the other, because there's not going to be a lot of people actually looking inside, I don't imagine. And if they're looking for that level of detail, they should not be playing my mods. At least not the ones I make. Because that you're not going to get decent detail here. It's just not. Okay, so that just about gets the inside of the bucket. And, ooh, that's pretty important. So that's that. Next we're going to come back here, import wool gray. That's, or silver, I think, is what I've been using for my apply to all faces. Change this face here to be automatically UV set. Do that to this and that. And that sets our rope texture up. We also need to import probably the log texture for the yoke. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate this texture by 90 degrees. Switch the U and V coordinates because it'll be weird. Damn it. Switch these coordinates, apply to all faces, change that face to be automatic auto UV, change this face to be auto UV, and there we go. Shitty bucket. So we'll set up the displays. Probably needs to be scaled down a bit at least. Yeah, but that looks about right to me. So maybe 0.5, 0.5. I hate how you can't just tab over in this program. That is one thing I don't like. Might be better to just do it this way. Yep. Let's just turn it just a little bit. So that way it's not intersecting with people's... Well, I don't know that there's a... Yeah, there we go. That way it intersects with your feet less. Not that I imagine the player holding this item too much, but I guess you could. Nope, that didn't work. The ever important head model. Let's see if we can rotate that. Yep, there we go. That works. 1.75 might work better, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. There's not a lot of point. So, that works, really. And then the GUI, I normally go with the default block. I love the look of that in an inventory, for a 3D model at least. Then we will export the block model into my documents, GitHub, pirate mod, source main. Bucket. So now we run to items. We create an item bucket. And there we go. That should appear in game now. So now to make the pirates hold them by random chance. If you see here, this is the weapon spawning code. The random chance they'll be holding a weapon. So it's pretty easy within this to go. In fact, we'll just replace the dagger with a bucket. And we'll say that if they do have a bucket, we want to get the tasks. We want to remove the melee task, fighting with swords, and we want to add a task to use a ranged weapon. And what a ranged weapon does in this context right now is always shooting at people currently. So we'll add some code to check and make sure what sort of ranged pirate this is. So if this get item main hand, that get the actual item, is a flintlock, then we'll do the basic code that we did before. If it's not, well then by default it's a bucket right now, so we don't have to do any special recognition for that. So we need a bucket projectile. So we'll come here to our entity registry class. I don't know where that is actually. Yeah, our entity helper. And we will register a new projectile with a new class of entity water, is what I'm going to call it for now. So, and after this, I'm going to be adding treasure maps back into this mod, so that might be kind of cool. So just entities here. This needs to extend an entity throwable. So like a snowball, an arrow, the bullet class, literally every projectile really runs off entity throwable. So you override that. You put in the things it makes you put in. We do need a few more of these. Like there needs to be one that takes in the thrower. That's super helpful because it takes where the thrower's looking and then sets the heading of the projectile. And we'll just put a helper in here to set the position of this entity to be the position of the thrower. That way we don't have to set that every time. The position of the thrower plus the thrower's eyesight. Or eye height, rather. Anyway, and so on impact, if the entity we hit, or rather, if we did hit an entity, and the entity we hit is a living entity, then what we want to do is to apply a potion effect to it. In fact, this is going to give that entity blindness. And regardless, if we hit something, just kill the projectile, because we don't care. We don't need it to do anything else. If it hits a block, that's fine, it can die. If it hits an entity, then it does this. And if it hits an entity that is not living, it also doesn't need to do anything. So this is all we need. So this casts that to a living entity, and then we're going to want to apply add effect? Yeah, add potion effect. New potion effect, and that takes a mob effects class, I believe. They've done a lot of moving around. Yeah, that's right. And it needs to be level 0 and last for 30 seconds? That's a long time of blindness, actually. Maybe 10 seconds? Maybe 5. We'll do 5 seconds of blindness. That's the wrong way around. That's the duration. And we don't even need it. It assumes that. So that should work. So now we need to tell it to fire that. So entity water. We create a new instance of this entity. And the parameters are of course going to be this for the the world that this is in and the thrower entity. And then all we have to do at this point is spawn it in the world. So world.spawn entity water. And that should go ahead and make it splash its bucket on you. I might in fact give it like a smaller range than the flintlock, because that doesn't really make sense. What's a good range for a bucket? Sweet. So let's see. Well, we'll have to summon them till we get one that has that bucket now. Game mode 1. Summon pirates. Pirate. They're looking a bit more piratey. Ah, here's one with the bucket. Let's kill off the others. Let's see if this works. Well, it's doing something, yeah. Oh yes. I forgot about that. So, for some reason, while it sets the heading and direction, it does not set the speed by default. So we'll come back to here. We'll do this dot shoot. Darn it. Shoot entity thrower, so base. Go ahead and fill in all these arguments that I don't know why it has, because it takes the entity we're taking this from, so it's purely extraneous, but alright. .5 maybe? Probably a decent float. So let's give this a shot. See if it throws. Oh yeah, it does, and that works. So now, when it hits, we're also going to want it to play a splash sound, so world.playSound. We want to play it at this position when it gets hit. The sound we want to play, sound events dot splash, I believe it's called. Generic splash. Sound category will be hostile mobs, 1 volume, and 1 pitch. So let's give that a shot. Yep, it works. Sweet. I don't know that's a pretty big range, actually. And this this entity should probably be like, as far as the renderer, that gray cube just doesn't cut it for me, of course. So we'll go ahead and we'll give it a renderer class. And it's going to be blank, it's just going to spawn particles. So it extends a renderer, or renderer. That's parameter. I'll say that one day. Parameter. Screw it. I don't even care. Import all the base functions here. Change this to public rather than protected. We'll leave the texture as null. We will override bind texture and do render. We don't actually need bind render now that I think of it. So, just, we don't even need this, in fact. All we're gonna do is entity.world spawn particles. We'll comment this out for a minute, let it build so it can be start to work. Code injection should work in this class. So yep, it's built and it's doing that. So now I do like how they opened this up in 1.13. It's a lot easier to add your own particles. Particle types. There should be a splash, isn't water splash? There we go. And then this is entity.position X, entity position Y, and we want to give them a speed of basically 0, so they just like stream to the ground because it has pretty good gravity built in. So this will cause an entity to just kind of fling across the or a bunch of particles to fling in the path of the entity here. Another thing we want to do is to slow it down, because that was way too fast, in my opinion. 1 block a second is probably more than adequate. I don't know where that pirate is. It might be dead now. Okay, so we'll go into... There's no way to summon a specific pirate just yet. I mean, with a specific weapon. So we kind of just have to... we just have to keep spawning and killing them until they give us one we want. which should be a fair chance, actually. Though it's not looking to be. Okay, there we go. And you can kind of see the particles. It's not as good as this. See, like this works. Actually, this may kill me. Yeah, so that's a fairly decent here. And now I'm considering giving them like actual jobs and functions, so they can like load cannons if there's any near. In fact, let's do that. Let's make an entity AI task that loads cannons. So a new class, entity.ai, a new package here. Entity AI load cannon. That way, if you're on a pirate ship, they can launch cannons at you. If they're on a pirate ship and you're sailing up to them, they can start shooting at you. It's just entity AI base, I think. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this has a bunch of methods we can implement. So, is interruptible. All these we need. So, should continue executing. Should be the same, to me at least, should be the same thing as whether or not it should execute in the first place. And whether or not it should execute in the first place should be, if it can get the position of a cannonball. So let's write a function for it to find the closest stack of cannonballs and cannon. So get cannon position. And this will take a the entity pirate, and we'll go ahead and set that to be a thing. Pirate. So we need to put that in the constructor, so you can create it with this entity AI load cannon. That's not how you spell cannon. Entity pirate. It's a common misconception that you can't like quite name two things the same, two variables the same like this, because if you do, and that's true. If you do pirate equals pirate, what this does is set this equal to this. So it does absolutely nothing. But if you use this dot pirate is equal to pirate, it will call things that are variables that are defined in the actual class. So it'll make this variable equal to this one, this local variable here. So this works. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just don't. So this needs to get us a block position of the cannon. And so actually let's define a static radius for this. Private static. This is the bounding box of no, not a bounding box. A block position will work just fine. So I'd say about probably 20 blocks. That may be too far. Let's look for 5 blocks in every direction for a cannon to load. So okay. So 4. Well, let's do this. Block position. Let's make this equal to block position origin rather than null. Just to avoid some crashes if we can. So for every block position, in we'll do pirate.getPosition, subtract, shoot, get all in box, get position.add radius, and the first one is get position.subtract radius. So this will get all the blocks in this radius around our pirate entity. And what we want to do for every block position, we'll need to get that state. See if that state is in fact a cannon at heart. So state.getBlock. If it's a cannon, then set position to the position we're overriding, and then break, because we're done looking for a cannon. Well, actually, we'll just go ahead and... Actually, we don't need this at all. We just return C position in this case. And if it doesn't hit that, then it won't return. And if it doesn't return, then it falls back to returning block position.origin, which means we don't have it. So, should execute get if it can find a cannon, then yes, this AI task should execute. So if get cannon position does not equal block position origin, then it has found a cannon, and this AI task should happen. I don't think this, yeah, this doesn't do anything, so we don't need to call super. So this in update task is what happens shoot. What happens every tick while this is running. So we'll do a cannon position. And in this case, we want to set this dot cannon position to be C position. So when it gets a cannon, if it should execute, then it executes and sets this to be a valid cannon. So we'll work under the assumption that this is a valid cannon, and we will make the pirate walk towards the cannon. Shoot, what we need to do is we need to get some decent pathfinding, because that was the issue with my companions. But for now, we'll just make them walk towards it. It doesn't even matter. So cannon position dot get x, and we'll just go ahead and try this out, and we'll see and see whether or not they can find a cannon and move to it. First, we got to add this to the entity pirate class here. So we will come here, we will add this dot tasks. I will give it a priority of 1. It'll conflict with other things. We need to restructure this, but we'll do that later. So new entity AI load cannon. And we'll do this for pirate. So that should go ahead and work. Again, no guarantee that does, but it should. And then maybe we can go ahead and play around a little bit with like the function for the pirate, so they stop rendering through walls so much. At least make it look like the walls render over them rather than it just like you're looking directly at them, because that's a bit weird. I think we can all agree. So, before he shoots me again, shoot. I hit 1. There we go. Does setting it to peaceful even affect these pirates? Yep, it does. In fact, why was he rendering just then? He should only render during the day. Something to think about. Anyway. So, I don't like this village. Yeah, shut up. I'm gonna destroy your village. How do you... There we go. So, summon a pirate. Dang it. Probably take it out of peaceful first. Are you gonna do something? I guess not. Get over there. He seems to be conspicuously not loading the cannon, if you notice. So, let's see what exactly is the issue there. We have this conflicting, but he's not attacking at the moment, so that shouldn't be going. This might override it, but he's not attacking, so that shouldn't be going. This does not conflict with walking, so he should be going. So, all in all, he should be running, but he's not. He should be going to the cans. Should continue executing. The only way it shouldn't work, I see, is if this is not, or the thing itself is not being called. We'll put out some put some debug things here. See if it's being checked, see if it's being called. And it is. You can tell that it's checking whether or not it should be. And it is finding a cannon. Okay, it's finding a valid cannon there. Huh, that's real weird. I don't know why it's not moving towards it then. Ooh, it might be because we haven't set. I think 1 is movement. Let me check. Yeah, 1 for motion. So we'll go ahead and restart this to fix the thing. I noticed those buckets, they look like they render backwards to me. I might need to just like put their arm out a little bit like I do with the flintlock, but not so dramatically. That's another thing I want to do, is set the flintlock to the arm to be aimed at the player at all times. And actually, there might be quite an easy way to do that. I could just make it follow the head, really. I wonder if that would work real quick. Like, literally just setting this to follow the heads. This dot biped head dot rotation angle x. Let's see if this works. That'd be hilarious. Oh, we need the brackets. More than 1 line. Alright, that'll need to be reset because that's not responding. I just exited out of Eclipse, it's alright. And now we just gotta wait for this to start up. And hopefully this here, what it should do, if I'm not terribly mistaken, is it should make the pirate's arm track the player when the pirate is holding a flintlock. Am I using an older version of Eclipse 50? Let's go ahead and get one of these that spawn with a gun. Oh, right off the bat. Let's see. I happen to know you're not targeting me right now. Oh, I see. It's a conflict with the cannon. The load cannon task here. Loading the cannon should probably be like secondary to fighting, I imagine. So if they're out of if the the player is not in if the player isn't in melee range or fire range, if you have a flintlock, then it will switch. Then it'll try shooting the cannons at you first, and when you get too close, then it switches to its own weapon. This should spice up the ship rating just a little bit more. I should figure out a way though to make it where the layers themselves are are also affected by the color changes and the invisibility. Though I can't. I don't know where render layers is being called here because it is being called, or else it wouldn't, or else they wouldn't render. See, now he's tracking me. It's weird. The gun arm's doing something. It ain't what we want to do. Maybe it should be maybe the X axis, yeah, the X axis here should minus float math to radians 80 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Whoa. Missed me, bitch. Ouch. No. That's my own fault. Anywho, well, that's an hour, so I'm gonna wrap up this stream, but yeah, pirates now have a few more attacks. The arms track you in your when they're shooting, and the pirate mode's just a little bit better for it. See ya.